War of the Animals, The Shut Face of Thunder, by Jonathan DeCoteau. Chapter 2. Zuckel Ryle, Washington, D.C., USA. The woodsman, Hunter Sergeant Rigel Fowler, stood covered in a myriad of brown skins and furs over his uniform, checkered with blood. His ancestry was deep and covered every continent, part Inuit, part Passamaquoddy, part Jewish combat soldier. He had seen the largest rhinos of the Savannah fall beneath him. He had tracked a mountain lion who had at least 30 kills to its name to the top of an enclave in British Columbia and killed the lion and its cubs. In another age, the civilized would think Rigel Fowler barbaric, with his long, black mane and face full of claw scratches and scars. In some ways, he was a throwback to ages of colonial eras long since consigned to dusty history tomes or to Cooper's Leatherstocking tales. Instead, the media now heralded his exploits, which were thought to have saved well over 100 human lives. Still, deep down, Fowler knew why he decorated himself in skins and furs, not to celebrate his predatory instincts, but to remind himself of the price of this slaughter, of all the lives that he took. The little Kitsisiot scientists, led by Dr. Akula Sifa, looked out of place next to the killer, covering their noses at the smell of blood. Hunter General Wade Brigand, Hunter Sergeant Fowler's commander and the man behind the euthanizing of North American animal populations, made the introductions. Brigand was a lanky, grizzled soldier of mixed ancestry, descended from proud Ashanti warriors turned slaves turned soldiers in the American Civil War and ancient Celtic fighters who killed more than a few Roman legionnaires. Dr. Sifa, Hunter General Brigand said, is here to brief us on the latest research. I thought it might be useful for the good doctor to meet an actual hunter out in the fields. Perhaps each of you can give me some insight into why we haven't put these rabid animals down and ended this by now. Partly because, Sifa said, these animals are not rabid. They are genetically enhanced. The signals we sent to the nanobots to shut down killed far less of the animals than we thought. After the first wave of deaths, others survived. It took just over a generation for entire populations to adapt. In some of the young in Greenland and in the Congo, we see signs that nanotechnology has made permanent alterations at a cellular level. In short, it reproduces itself in the next generation, spreading much like a virus does. How many animals are now infected? Brigand asked. Satellites suggested untold millions 6 weeks ago, Dr. Sifa said. Their populations have found ways to block our tagging systems, so we can't be sure. Every continent has several populations of intelligent animals. What of the antidote? The Hunter General asked Fowler. Fowler shook his head. It's useless, he said. These animals are here to stay. Dr. Akada, another task force expert taken from civilian life, shook his head. That can't be, he insisted. Our studies have proven conclusive. The solution neutralizes the nanotechnology, blocking its ability to communicate with neural receptors. Have the animal populations shown any change in behavior? Brigand asked Fowler. Fowler shook his head a second time. Let me ask you something, Doctor, he said to Dr. Akada. What population of animals did you test your potion on? First-generation contaminated animals and their offspring, Akada said. Bears, chimpanzees, dogs, cats, at least a dozen different species. I can tell you this, Doctor, Fowler said. The animals in the wild are immune. Brigand shook his head. I guess we have little choice. We'll have to increase the euthanizing programs across the continent. Fowler shook his head. With all due respect, sir, he said, the animals have spread word of your killing fields. Spread the word. How could that be? Language, Fowler said. Different species can communicate with each other. I don't know how, but they can. Impossible, the Hunter General said. Actually, yes and no, Dana Carr said. She circled around in her chair until she faced the Hunter General directly. Hunter General, she added. You, of all people, should appreciate the efficiency of the original design. Originally, we were hoping to trap pockets of terrorist cells by using their own animal populations against them. In the event that soldiers needed to communicate, we needed to test human subjects as well. These subjects would facilitate communication through the groups by establishing a rudimentary language. In short, the human would serve as the conduit until nanotechnology could adapt and allow animals to understand for themselves. This technology compromises humans too? Brigand asked. Dr. Carr shook her head. Not all. It doesn't affect most humans it comes into contact with, she said, but a select few have a blood chemistry unique enough for the nanotechnology to work. We found one such subject in Little Kitsisut. My former subordinate, Nathan Troller. Where is he? Apparently, he adapted to the cold of the inner island drive. Carr said, he's unaccounted for, but if there is any communication going on, he is the key. So, if we kill him, all of this stops. Hunter General Brigand asked, kind of like taking out the queen bee. New populations won't be able to communicate until the nanotechnology evolves sufficiently. Drive. Carr replied, something that complex should take years, but we see signs already. So why haven't we tracked this Nathan Troller yet? Brigand asked. He's rendered himself untraceable by our systems. Drive. Carr said, what we need is another subject with the same type of blood chemistry, someone who can also take the nanotechnology into the body and survive. Dr. Carr nodded at Hunter Sergeant Rigel Fowler. He's the best soldier I have on the front, Doctor, and you want me to risk his death for a science experiment? If he survives, Drive. Sifa said, he'll be able to communicate with Troller and with the animals. He'll be able to hunt Troller and bring this to an end before the inevitable. Which is extinction. Drive. Okada said, with entire populations of animals fully genetically modified, humanity wouldn't stand a chance. We'd be at war with the entire planet. We can slaughter the beasts first, Brigand said, but even as he spoke the words, his voice broke. Hasn't mankind already visited enough death upon these animals? Dr. Carr asked. Finding and killing Nathan Troller would mean saving not just countless human lives but countless animal lives too. Brigand shot a glance at Hunter Sergeant Fowler. What do you say? Fowler shut his eyes. Give me a night to think it over. Brigand nodded and got up. The doctors rose as well. As they talked about the timetable for the surgery, Fowler stared ahead, vacantly. He had killed more animals than he'd ever hoped necessary. Perhaps now, he thought, glancing at the furs that decorated him, he could atone to the animals, perhaps, he could give life back. KYWY Tollan. Nunavut, Canada. Moon Shadow and Sky Death were the last two to join the Great Council of the North. Surrounding them in a vast cavern were families of otters, foxes, polar bears, eagles, mountain lions, wolves, muskrat, and mice. Everywhere Moon Shadow's snowy white head looked, there was another creature flying overhead and scurrying underfoot. In the middle, like some Buddha of old, sat a wild man, with golden antlers, covered in what looked to be plant-based fibers, with long scraggly brown hair and eyes of ethereal blue. Swarms of nanobots circled above him, as if on guard. Dirt covered different parts of his body as the man ate of a strange nectar and water before speaking. Nervlin, a bobcat hissed out. That's the great wizard of the north. Moon Shadow asked. I've never set eyes on him, Sky Death cackled back. Nervlin closed his eyes for a moment, meditating. When he opened them again, his eyes glowed brightly, like those of the animals before him. Welcome, friends of nature, he said. I hope that you have had time to enjoy the nectar the bees provided us and the fresh water put out before you. I only wish our reason for meeting could be more fortuitous. The Rulku slaughter us, even our pups, Moon Shadow called out. Our people starve, White Claw, king of the polar bears, said. The man-beasts force us from even their food graves, where we feasted before. The killing fields go from one end of the horizon to the other, Dasu, lord of the mountain lions, said. Never have I seen so many cats laid to waste. But why? Pale Ghost, the leader of the mice, asked. We were one with the zoo, the great law of creation. Now, we are fleckus, an abomination. We are like the man-beasts with poisoned eyes. We have ourselves to blame, Sky Death said. For far too long have we allowed the man-beasts, the Rulku, the true abominations, to take advantage of us. For far too long have they destroyed our homes and polluted our skies. Now, they have attacked our very essence and turned us against Mother Nature herself. Is it too late to reverse this curse? Thunder Killer, Lord of the Bald Eagles, asked. I'm afraid so, Nervland said. My former kind, the Rulku, uses magic they cannot undo. They act with abandon, as if they rule over the mighty lords of the council themselves. It is not right. It is not a zoo. And I left my kind because I am convinced that they will not stop until they kill the entire earth. They are like children by the river's edge, skipping in the water until the current eats them whole. There was a long pause before Crimson Fang, leader of the coyotes, spoke. For a long time has animal hunted animal. Now, my pack howls in vengeance. Animal must hunt Rulku. The animals turned to Nervland, who again closed his eyes and meditated. I wish I had a simple answer, he said. I must meet with Methuselah, the wisest of all living things, for advice. But if you seek my counsel, I would say that Crimson Fang is right. The Rulku do not respect a zoo. They only respond to force. But they are cunning killers. To stand up to their magic, you need to stand united. Animal must no longer feast on animal. Instead, you must find a common law, and you must put your differences aside. Like the Rulku, you must form armies, and you must be prepared to fight until the death. But as when you stalk your prey, timing makes the difference between making a kill and being killed. If you allow the Rulku to convene, unchallenged, at any point, they will annihilate you and this earth. The animals sighed heavily. It is not in our nature to kill just to kill, Pale Ghost said. It must be, Nervland said. I will counsel you as I can, but this is your fight. My advice to you is to mark your territories, to start by ending the killing fields and driving the Rulku back. They don't do as well in the north, so that would be a good place to start. You must speak together to form strategies for attack. And you must reach out to animals the world over. Only if animals stand united will you take back the earth. Nervland speaks true, Thunder Killer said. The Rulku are as numerous as ant colonies on a hill, and we must protect those who cannot protect themselves. That is why, first, we must have a law for these times, and that law must stand under punishment of death to all violators. And first among that law is that animals must respect other animals. Nervland wrote, etching the laws on the stone wall of the cavern, that all might see. The law of a zoo. 1. No animal is above any other animal. Every animal shall have a voice. 2. Animal must not kill animal. Plants must be eaten. Only Rulku meat is allowed. 3. In times of war, the great kings and queens of the animals are the rulers of their clans. Every clan has a vote under the law. No animal lord is greater than any other. 4. War is declared only when the majority of the lords say so. All other matters are decided by the council. 5. No animal shall render any extinct, not even Rulku. We will make a copy of these laws for each of your clans, Nervland said. Now, I must go to Methuselah. I must leave you to decide upon your first attack. My advice to you is to make a statement. In your first attack, all Rulku must die. Silver Snake, the Otter King, shook his head. I am afraid of where this line of thinking will take us, he said. Still, this is a river whose current already has us by the neck, and there is nowhere else for us to go. The animals chirped, growled, and hissed in assent. Then the talk of strategy began.